Welcome back to EDH Deck Building, and I am your host, Demo, and this is essentially my year in review. And I talked about, all the stuff from this year that was fantastic already. I did all my best of lists, but basically a wrap up of how I think Commander went this year overall. And really, I think at the end of every year, Commander players should be asking themselves, was this year better than the last year? If it was better than the last year, then I think we're doing okay. And in my personal opinion, I think that this year, 2021, was better for the Commander format than last year. That's not that last year was bad. In fact, if I had done this last year at the end of 2020, I would have said that that year was better for Commander than 2019 and better than 2018. So I think we're on a uphill swing here, and there's a couple of reasons why. And I've sort of hinted at a few of the different things that I was going to talk about here. And one of the things that I think has helped out, so I did a little bit of math here. There was 167 Commanders this year that came out from my quick addition. And for me, I think, cards in the 99 are important, no question. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to the Commanders. I think if you have too many busted Commanders or really unfun to play against Commanders, that really ruins the format more than anything. I don't even like Jeweled Lotus, for example, incredibly powerful card. It's in the 99 though, and I don't think it really warped the format at all. In fact, I literally just played a game with one of my patrons on Spell Table where he cast a first turn Jeweled Lotus to get his commander out, and that's the first time I had ever seen that in a casual game in over a year of that card being out. So for me, it's all about the Commanders, okay? That really sort of drives whether or not the format is in a good place or not. 167 Commanders is a lot, okay? Last year, 2020, and again, I'm saying this year was better than last year. 2020, 177 Commanders, even more. Obviously, that's the most ever. Commander Legends came out in 2020. That was 73, I believe, just from the one set. So that's a lot. I know it's going to seem like, oh, well, more Commanders must mean better, right? No, obviously, I think this year was better than last year, even though there was more Commanders last year. And the year before that, there was only 79. In 2019, only 79 Commanders. So I'm not saying more Commanders is better necessarily. What are you giving us, right? I do want more. More options is always better. But there's something they didn't do in 2020 or 2021 that they did in 2019. So the fact that there was only 79 Commanders, that's way less by comparison. However, some of the Commanders that came out that year, Teysa Karlov, Feather, Sisay, Golos, which of course is now banned. Nevertheless, it was the most popular commander in the format. Yarok, Crick, Kenrith, Korvald, Alila, Chulane. All of those commanders came out in 2019. And if you go back to 2018, only 93 commanders. So again, more than 2019, but a lot less than 2020 or 2021. But again, Niv Mizzet, Yuriko, Lord Windgrace, Muldrotha, right? So what you have in 2018 and 19 compared to 2020 and 21, we have a lot more commanders in the last 2 years, which isn't necessarily great, but they've really brought the power level down a lot. In fact, if you look at the top 20 commanders on EDH Rec, half of them, 10 of the top 20 commanders in the entire format are from 2018 or 2019. So that year, and I've said how I thought that they really went completely overboard, like Throne of Eldraine, Theros Beyond Death, and even War of the Spark. Like a lot of those sets in there, M20, they just went overboard. That was the point. I would say 2018 is maybe the point where Commander was becoming the most popular format in the entire game. Or maybe it already was. I'm not sure exactly where it happened, but it was in there somewhere. And so Wizards of the Coast got the idea like, hey, let's pour it on. Let's pour it on with these really powerful commanders. And they didn't know what they were doing, to be quite honest. They did it wrong. Okay, I think they did it wrong. Just printing busted commanders doesn't help the format at all. I think most people would agree with that. And that's something that we didn't get really in 2020 or 2021. I'm not going to talk about only the commanders here. I thought the 99 cards were fantastic this year as well. This was the best year, I think, ever for 99 cards. So I am taking that into consideration. I mean, I did 3 lists of the cards in the 99. I did my removal list, and then I did my top 20 cards of the year outside of removal. And then I also did a top 20 cards that really flew under the radar for me and for a lot of other people as well. And there was a whole bunch more that I didn't even include. People were like, hey, what about Mystic Reflection? I'm like, yep, that's a fantastic card as well. Like, there's so many cards that you just can't even talk about all of them. So really great year for the 99 cards in this format, but also I think the commanders at the end of the day, like I said, that matters most to me. And if you think about the great commanders this year, there was a ton. Again, I made my top 20 list. I left off a ton. People are like, hey, what about this commander? What about that commander? I'm like, yeah, they're great. I could have made a top 40 list easy. What about the bad though? That, to me, that is almost more than what are they doing right? What are they not doing wrong? That's what, because again, you make that certain commander that can really twist the entire format. More than a card in the 99. A card in the 99 I don't think is going to warp the format too badly, but a commander will, right? And what they didn't do this year, and I don't really think they did it last year either, is print too many commanders. I mean, you're always going to have at least a couple, but they really didn't print too many commanders that were format warping. I got to talk about Turgrid. That's the one I think of all the commanders this year that people would complain the most about. I haven't seen it that much, so, and so I guess I'm not complaining about it as much as most people. I have heard a lot of complaining about it. In fact, the 5 strategies that are most hated, Sacrifice just catapulted into that list because of Turgrid. That's something that I had never even heard people complain about before, like the Dictate of Erebos or something. Like, I force my opponents to sacrifice their creatures. People don't like that, but it's definitely not an archetype that would have vaulted into the top 5 most hated strategies in the entire format. Pretty much that happened just because of Turgrid, because everyone hated that commander so much. Yeah, I mean, and there's even discussion about it getting banned. If it gets banned, I won't be sad. I'm never sad when it comes to that. If people get really upset when cards are banned, I never do. I suppose if someone banned or if the rules committee banned a commander that I had a deck with, yeah, that would suck. I won't get into it. Is it going to get banned? I don't know. I guess we'll find out in the new year. It's likely from what I've heard, but we'll see. The only other commander that I would complain about a little is Jazzy, and again, though, when I first saw it, I was like, wow, that card's so busted. It's ridiculous. For me, it's everything I don't like about the format. I'm just going to cast giant stuff for free. To me, I think casting stuff for free is the most powerful thing you can do in Magic. Everyone talks about card draw and all that kind of stuff. For me, cheating mana cost is because of all the busted cards they've been printing, right? Back in the day, back in Tempest Block days, cheating a big creature into play wasn't that big of a deal because there wasn't that many fantastic creatures, right? If you even think about the recursion deck, the original recursion deck with Reoccurring Nightmare and Survival of the Fittest, that's what that deck did, and it would cheat into play a Verdant Force or a Spirit of the Night. Those were the big finishers in that deck because those were the best creatures available at the time. They didn't have creatures like that. Nowadays, with the absolutely ridiculous cards that they print and that they come out with that have 0 drawback and only huge upside, casting things for free is literal game ending, right? Everyone has seen the Emrakul decks. Obviously, Emrakul being banned in Commander, but in Legacy, that card is so busted. Even in Legacy, they build around cheating that guy into play. So for me, cheating a mana cost is huge, and Jazzy does that. And that's why I don't love it. I will say, first of all, I'll say I did have a couple of people say, yeah, I put that deck together because I thought it was a cool commander. My playgroup hated it, so I took it apart. I had more than one person tell me that. I haven't seen it much. In fact, I haven't played against it at all, not once. So I almost forgot about it. I was putting this whole list together for the video, and I was like, oh yeah, Jazzy. That was one that I was, when Strixhaven came out, that was the one commander where I was like, that seems a bit much. But I haven't really experienced it. So maybe are we getting to a place now where when Wizards of the Coast comes out with these busted commanders, people are like, I'm just not going to play it, Maybe. I will say this, though. I really do like that on Jazzy it says If it's a non-land card, you may cast it by paying 1. So it's not actually free, and I like that. Even though it is still not much, casting an Ulamog for 1 mana ain't that big of a difference. But it is a limitation. Doing it for free, like you don't have to pay anything, that is where you can just completely go out of hand. Like, I know you can go out of hand with 1 mana, but at least it's something. And to me, that's Wizards of the Coast saying, okay, at least we can put a little bit of limitation on this, right? Which I like. And that's another reason why I really like this year in Commander, because they put a lot of limitations on stuff, which people don't like, but I do, because it keeps things from getting out of hand, right? One of the big ones is this ability triggers only once each turn. For those who don't know, that phrase didn't exist before 2021, okay? That there is no card before 2021 that has the phrase, this ability triggers only once each turn. In fact, when Kaldheim came out at the start of the year, I saw Elvish Warmaster. That was the first card I ever saw. I read it, and I was like, this ability triggers only once each turn. I've never seen that phrase before in all my days playing Magic, and that was because that was the first card that had that phrase on it. And I thought it was weird, to have an ability trigger only once each turn. It's a little weird, but obviously they, broke open the floodgates. There has been 17 cards now printed this year that have had that phrase, this ability triggers only once each turn, including Commanders. And I like that. A lot of people poo-pooed on Dennick when he came out because his ability triggers only once each turn. But, ask any of my patrons who have played against that deck a few times. I have piles of clues in play all the time. I have no problem with it triggering only once each turn. If it didn't, it would get out of hand. And to me, I think that's a fun, interesting commander that could possibly be ruined by not having that restriction on it, right? Those restrictions for me, they keep fun, interesting commanders from getting out of hand and becoming unplayable. And the best example of this for me is Najeela, right? Najeela has no restrictions like that. None. That's what makes Najeela ridiculous. This came out in Battle Bond and was supposed to be a fun warrior tribal commander, right? And very quickly, people realized that it was just too powerful for casual game. Like literally, even if you played the most casual warrior tribal deck, it's still busted, right? Because the abilities on your commander is busted. This is, for me, there's only 2 commanders that I think are unplayable in casual. I think they're strictly CEDH commanders, and that's Urza and Najeela, just because what they're doing, what's printed on your commander is so damn powerful that it doesn't matter what your deck is doing because your commander's too powerful. And Najeela, they could have saved that commander. They could have saved a fun, interesting 5-color warrior commander from being a strictly CEDH commander by putting those restrictions on it, right? Najeela says, whenever a warrior attacks, you may have its controller create a 1/1 white warrior creature token that's tapped and attacking. And you even have that its controller phrase in there, which again adds to the teammate thing, the funness of it. You can even let your opponents create tokens if you want to. But all that's out the window because you have a commander that has a way too powerful ability. People figured out very quickly how ridiculously busted this commander is because the tokens that you're creating when they attack will create more tokens. It would have been really easy for them to say, whenever a non-token warrior attacks, you may have its control, right? That phrase, or, it triggers only once each turn maybe or something, or, one or more. A lot of the phrases that they've been using on commanders and cards lately, like those one or more phrases or triggers only once each turn, all of those phrases that people seem to not like would keep Najeela from being a ridiculously busted CEDH commander. And you could play it in a casual game and make a fun 5-color warrior tribal deck with it, right? So as much as people sometimes, I know it seems like, oh, well, why did they put that on there? Oh, why did they put that on there? I like that they put that on there, okay? The trigger only once each turn, play only as a sorcery, one or more, or only triggers on your turn, stuff like that. I like that because it keeps these commanders from getting out of hand. And they are, I think, sort of compensating for mistakes they've made in the past. I think they probably should have done that with Najeela, right? They should have done, I think they've already admitted that they did Yuriko badly. And I talked about this when I talked about the new Ninja Tribal Commander, which isn't a Ninja Tribal Commander at all. Yuriko they did incorrectly. Again, should have been a fun interesting ninja tribal, goofy sort of ninja tribal commander, and it quickly became a CEDH level commander because they went too far. They just went too far with it. Again, another commander that came out in 2018 in that era, 2018, 2019, where they were just cranking out these really powerful commanders because they thought that's what was best for the format. And it's not. It really is not. I read the sort of end of the year thing that Sheldon Menery did, and he talked about how Wizards of the Coast and the Rules Committee are in contact and going back and forth on stuff like this. And I think they are cooperating a lot more than maybe they were before. I don't think they were before. It seemed to me like Wizards of the Coast was doing a lot of things in spite of the Rules Committee rather than hand in hand with them. And I didn't Planeswalkers can be your commanders. That, for example, to me feels like a slap in the face of the Rules Committee. That's just me. If the Rules Committee says you can't do this, and then Wizards of the Coast says, well, actually you can, we're going to circumvent your rules by putting something on a card that specifically says otherwise. I don't love that. I can't imagine the Rules Committee loves it either. Nevertheless, they are working lockstep now, as far as I can tell, which is great because Commander is the most popular format in the entire game now, and it would, I think, be in Wizards of the Coast's best interest to do so, right? To be in good standing with them. And I would imagine it's very likely that the Rules Committee probably put a lot of thought into banning Golos and discussed it with Wizards of the Coast, and there probably has been a lot of discussion there back and forth. They've probably said, hey, stop printing these busted commanders, maybe put some limitations on them. And that's what they've done. And I like that. For me, it's really important for the format. I actually watched a thing that EDH Recast did recently where they talked about the statistics of popular commanders. And I love looking at statistics and numbers and stuff like that. The most popular 101 commanders make up 50% of all decks on EDH Rec, right? 50% of all the decks on EDH Rec are 101 commanders. There's 1,200 commanders, right? So that means there's 1,100 other commanders. The bottom 1,100 make up the other 50% of decks. So you have 101 commanders that are sort of hogging the majority of the space there, and I don't love that. And like I said, most of them were from 2018, 2019. In fact, 15 of the top 30 were from 2018, 2019. So a huge chunk of the decks on EDH Rec, period, are from 2018, 2019. I don't think that's good. We don't want that. Unfortunately, it's not a problem that will ever go away, right? Korvold is always going to exist. Yuriko's always going to exist, right? These commanders will always exist and always be super popular. Are they, maybe, I guess they could ban them. I don't think they're going to. For me, and people have talked about, oh, well, what's next? They're going to ban Kenrith or this or that. I think Golos was to me, again, I think they were sending a message there or setting a precedent. Are they going to ban Turgrid? Perhaps. It's always interesting to have these discussions about how you have these commanders that are really popular, but also incredibly hated. Like Turgrid has a lot of decks on EDH Rec, right? It's in the thousands. So it's kind of funny how everyone seems to despise that commander, but yet at the same time, a lot of people have that deck, right? Golos was the same way. I know there's a lot of people out here that were really upset about the banning of Golos. A lot of people complained all the time about having to play against Golos. So what can you do, right? You can't please everybody, that's for sure. Ultimately, though, for me, banning of individual cards, I'm not that concerned about. I'm more concerned about the overall health of the format. And I think that the format is better off at the end of 2021 than it was at the end of 2020 and at the end of 2019 and so on. So I think we hit a low point, in 2018 and 2019, and now we're coming back up again. And, I really liked Commander in 2016 when I started playing, 2015, 2016, around there. Commander 2016 was a great set. That's before they started printing Commander cards in standard sets and everything else. And I thought that was a good spot. And then they sort of went too far. And now we're kind of getting back to a more normal spot now. I think I would say we're probably back to where we were in 2016. For me personally, I don't think we need the Commander precons in every standard set. I don't like that. That's too much. I don't think we need it. I don't hate it. It's okay. I mean, there are more cards to play. That's fine. I don't think it's necessary. Come on, 167 legendary creatures were printed last year or this year. I think we got enough, right? I don't think we really need any more. And again, fantastic year for the 99 cards as well. So many good ones. So many I can't play them all. I'm actually missing out on some here. So, like I said, at the end of the day, what matters most to me is I look at the year, I look back at everything that happened this year, and I think that the Commander format as a whole is better off than it was last year and certainly the year before that. So I'm happy with that. What do you guys think? Are you happy with where things are at? I think we're on an upward swing. I'm looking forward to the future. I think Wizards of the Coast made some mistakes. Certainly they made some mistakes. They even admitted it, right? Yuriko, too powerful, shouldn't have done that. I think they said Arcane Signet was also a mistake, and it certainly was. Printing a card that everyone's going to auto-include in all their decks, that's not good for the format. I think they've realized they've made some mistakes. We had a bit of a down couple years, and now we're on the upswing again, and I am looking forward to the future of this format. I'm pretty pumped about it, to be quite honest. What do you guys think? Comment below. Let me know what your opinions. Is this year, at the very least, better than it was in 2020? Yes, no, maybe so. I think it was. Let me know what you think below, but that is it for today, and thanks for tuning in.